Hello, and welcome back to another Eduonics tutorial. In this section, we're going over effects and techniques in Photoshop. And in this video, we'll be combining several different techniques to make a vintage-style haze effect. Up till now, we've pretty much been applying techniques that draw focus to our subject, whether by adjusting colors, adding textures, or blurring backgrounds. Now we're going to try a step in the opposite direction and intentionally reduce the quality and visibility of our image. If you've ever used a picture sharing application like Instagram, you might be familiar with the concept of photo filters. These filters act like presets, and some are applied to simulate sort of a vintage style, as if to make the photo seem physically aged, or like a photo taken with a more classic model of camera. In this tutorial, I want to apply a haze effect to this photo. Now, if I go up to my filter menu, I will never be able to find a preset haze effect, no matter how hard I look. So, I'll be using a combination of my own techniques to achieve my desired look. Now, a haze effect usually has a few different components. Its colors are generally washed out or faded. It also doesn't have many shadows, but instead has a very warm and inviting tone. Sometimes the details will be degraded and have physical imperfections like color noise. And finally, a haze effect will occasionally have a vignette, which is basically just a very soft, dark border around the edges of the photo. So for my haze effect, I'm going to be applying all these components. To get started, I'll duplicate my background layer by dragging it to the new layer icon. My original background layer will serve as my backup in case I make too many mistakes, and also it will be my comparison image when I'm done with my new effect. I'd like to convert my new layer to a smart object, so I'll right-click it and select Convert to Smart Object. Now I'll go down to the bottom of the Layers panel and click the New Adjustment Layer button, and I'll select Curves to make a new Curves adjustment layer. Now in the Curves property panel, I have a box here with some gray waves and a solid line going up diagonally across them. I'm going to click the bottom left point of the line and drag it up vertically. I'm going to drop it right in the middle of my vertical space. What this has done is brighten up the shadows to give the photo a bit of a faded look. Now I'll go up in the histogram and click the button that says RGB. Then I'll select the red option. Now in the histogram, I have these light red waves. These represent the levels of red within the image. I'm going to go ahead and click right in the middle of the diagonal line and drag up and left a little bit. What this has done is sort of intensify the levels of red, especially in the midtones and highlights of the image. I'll go back up and click the button that now says red. There are already plenty of greens in my image. I don't really need to be messing with them, so I'm going to go ahead and skip the green option, going straight to the blue option. Then I'll click in the middle of the line again, only this time I'm going to drag it down and to the right a bit. This is really working on the yellows of the image, and this, combined with the intensified reds, is resulting in a much warmer photo overall. So now I have the faded photo I wanted. Using the curves adjustment, I've brightened the shadows, washed out the colors, and warmed the photo a bit. Now I'd like to degrade this photo by adding some noise to its pixels. I'll hide my Properties panel and select my smart object. Then I'll go up to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. This brings up the Add Noise dialog box and shows a preview of the filter on the canvas. I'm going to go ahead and set the amount to 10%. Then, under Distribution, I'll select Gaussian. Then, I'll check the box next to Monochromatic. What this is doing is adding some pixel distortion without adding any sort of new colors. I'll click OK to apply my noise filter. Now I have a faded photo with some physical damage. Very cool. I'm going to take this a few steps further and add a vignette to the photo. This will darken the edges of the photo and give it a bit more depth since I've faded it out so much. I'll select my curves layer, then go down in the Layers panel and click the New Layer Effect button. Then I'll pick Gradient Overlay. So now the Layer Style dialog box has popped up, and here I have my Gradient Overlay options. I'm going to go over these options one by one to create my vignette. First, I'll choose the Blend mode and switch it from Normal to Overlay. This blends my gradient with my image nicely, but it's still a bit too strong. So I'll tone it down. I'll go over to Opacity and change it to 60%. The goal is to just darken the outer edges of the photo. So I'll go here in Style and switch it from Linear to Radial. This makes my gradient operate like a soft circle. But currently, it's darkening the middle and brightening the outer edges. So I'll just click Reverse to switch it. That looks better, but the middle of the gradient is a little too bright. So I'll click my gradient thumbnail to customize the gradient colors. Now I'll click this arrow tab on the top right of my gradient slider to select the opacity of my white color. It's currently set to 100% opacity. So I'll go ahead and bring it all the way down to 0% opacity. Then I'll double click the arrow tab on the bottom right to bring up the color picker. And I'll change this color from white to black. I'll click OK. Then I'll go up and click OK again to accept my new gradient colors. The vignette is almost done. I just want to make it a little bit bigger. So I'll go down to Scale and increase that all the way up to 150%. That's an improvement, but still not quite as big as I wanted. Now when you're working with the radial gradient, there is a secret way to increase the size beyond this. I'm just going to go here in the angle option and bring it up to 45 degrees. Okay, we're done. I'll go ahead and click OK in the Layer Style dialog box to apply my gradient overlay. Now look at that. We have an old, vintage style hazy photo. I started with the curves adjustment layer to fade and wash out the colors, resulting in a very warm and inviting tone. Then I added a noise filter to degrade and age the pixels. And finally, I added a vignette to just draw a little focus by darkening the edges of the photo. And if I want to see my original, I can just click the eye icons on my new layers to hide them. Wow, it's hard to believe that we've gone from that to that. Very cool. Well, that should do it for the haze effect. I'll go over another effect and technique in the next video.